Welcome to the Counselor Overview for setting up and managing line item lists for HSP, Medicare, as well as RAP. We'll begin here in the line item type administration. To get here, you click on Administration in the top menu bar and then select Line Item Types. Now, in this account, I've already set up some sample ones for us to look at. You can set these up however you like, but here are some general recommendations for how they may look. For example, when you're looking at HSP services, you may want to call it HSP services, right? Because the codes and the services in that list will typically be specific to HSP. You can include other services in this list if you want, or you can name this more generically services, whatever you prefer. As we get a little further here, when we talk about Medicare and RAP, devices and services, you do likely want to make this specific to, for example, RAP devices, RAP services. So it makes it much easier when you're adding items to an invoice. You know exactly what list to draw from. It also enables you to set up very specific settings that will dictate which items, which codes are available within a certain type. Okay, that's most prominently seen here in the difference between RAP devices and RAP services. But let's kind of start here with devices, and we'll kind of show that as we go along here. So I'm going to click the Edit option. Now, in general, of course, you can name this whatever you like. I call this RAP devices. Default tax rate, you don't have to pick anything for this, but if you do, probably pick GST 0%. This, of course, is as you're setting up the new item list. I'm just reviewing an existing one. But one of the key areas I want to focus on here is this option right here, patient devices. Anytime you're creating a line item type in Counselor that's related to a device, what I mean by that is something that you're going to track via a serial number, okay? And that could be whether we're talking about RAP, HSP, anything, whatever type you want, or just purely private pay types that you want to create. You do want to select patient device if the items included in that list will have a serial number. If in addition to that, this not only has a serial number, but this is specifically a hearing aid, right? So not, the patient device that could be a remote control, right? So, or a hearing aid. So you want to go ahead and just pick that if it's anything with a serial number. Hearing aids, of course, can be specific to hearing aids, right? And by selecting these options, it gives Counselor the ability to know which code set to make available for this type. So in this case here, we're talking about RAP devices. We're going to leave this more general and just call it a device. Right? There's other options in here too about whether you track opportunities. So this is regarding tests not treated, exclude from claims, things like that. That'll be specific to your individual needs. So typically you'd probably leave these blank unless you're working with the Counselor support team and they define that, hey, this would be probably beneficial for you to activate. So the key areas to focus on here, of course, can be the description, the patient device, and patient hearing aid options. Once you have that in place, you go ahead and click Save. And that will, of course, then, if it had been a new one I was creating, that would have locked it in, right? I could have typed this in, I could have selected device from here, but it will save it to your list. Same thing goes for the other, right? So for Medicare services, we take a peek at that. We'll see that the device list is not activated because these are services. If we look at RAP, right, we'll also see that it's not activated because it's a service. And once again, this is all important because now what we're going to do is we're going to look at the actual line item list itself, the list of products and services. So once again, if we go to Administration, and then we choose Line Item List, this is now going to show us a drop-down of all the different types that we were just looking at, right? So there's the HSP services, Medicare services, RAP devices, and services all separated out. So if we look, for example, RAP devices, we're going to see there are two here, right? Just a couple in place we have there, and the RAP code is in place. Now we did that by simply adding this device. So you could type in, I'm just going to put in something very generic here, test. I'll pick RAP, and then we're going to type in the code. So in that case, that was, let's say, AA. We'll start typing the code, I should say. And as you type, you'll see a list of available codes. So that means we can pick whatever we like. Now, if you try to mix this up and you say, hey, I want to add a RAP service here, it won't let you because it's looking only for device-related codes. So just to kind of a qualifier here, really important one, is that if you're trying to create a general, let's say, RAP list, that likely won't work because Counselor is looking at two different code sets, the services and the devices. So you likely want to have a type for each, services and devices. When that's the case, Counselor will look at the device list. There we go. We can see our list of devices. You, of course, can add more information here. So let's just say we're making this $100. You can add more options to this if you will. For example, managing stock and things like that. But we're going to go ahead and click Save. And then what we'll see at the bottom of the screen here, this new device has been added with the code and price. Okay. Once again, if we tried to do a service there, try a server code, it wouldn't let us. Or if we tried to jump back in here and maybe change this up and add a different code, it wouldn't let us as well. So it's sticking specifically to device codes. Now, if we look, if we back out of this once again and look at our types, we could jump to RAP services, and now we have the ability to add services, right? So these are non-devices, and this will give us the ability to pull from codes that are on the services list. The same thing occurs for Medicare services and HSP services. So by having the specific code set in place, it gives you the ability, or I'm sorry, having the specific designator on whether this is a device or a service, it then allows you to access that specific code set list as you're creating or editing specific items. Now, once you have your list in place, we have our line items for each one of these areas. When you go to create an invoice, of course, you can then choose the type, right? Pick Medicare services and then choose from the available list, and the codes will automatically be applied. Okay, so this is a bit of a multi-step process, but once you have it in place, it does put you in great position to be able to access these items very quickly while you're creating an invoice and have the proper codes populate. Of course, if you have any questions about this, please let us know. Just reach out to us. You can live chat with us. You can submit a ticket or email us. We are very happy to help. So thank you very much for joining us for the overview on setting up and managing your line item types and lists for HSP, Medicare, and RAP